Most people always say, you know what, when I work out, I'm going to start my diet or my workout program on Monday, right? Or I'm going to start and try to make $250,000 next year, right? Or whatever. Like, I believe in doing things now, because I'm telling you, the activity that you put forth in December, also, guess what? Typically, and NAFA could probably maybe prove me wrong, back with Mutual Omaha, this was years ago, we're not with Mutual anymore, the biggest insurance sales month of the year was December. But most people take it easy in December. I didn't, and I don't think you have to. And the activity that you do now will benefit you next year. I want you to look back in 12 months and not even recognize the person that you are, in a good way, by the way. I want you may not be better looking, but you can at least be smarter. You can at least have invested in your business more. You can at least know more. You can at least have a bigger network. You can at least be around the right people. You can at least be a harder worker. You can at least be better on the phone. You can at least be better at texting. You can at least be better at closing. You can at least be better at sales. You can at least be better at team building. You can at least be better at get up in front of a room, whatever, right? Like, do you feel like over the last 12 months, you have accomplished a lot? Do you believe that you've totally shed your skin and become a whole new person in the last 12 months, or have you not? So that's what I want you to think about, okay? The next 12 months, I'm thinking about 2022, the next 12 months can be the best 12 months of your life if you let it. I want to start out with, there's a story that I love sharing, and then I'll get into my story a little bit. Our buddy Greg Gerbickian actually told me this story a while back. I love sharing it. The story is Donald Trump, whether you love him or hate him, okay, we're going to talk about him as a business person for a second, okay? This is not about politics. So he walks into a restaurant for lunch years ago, and he goes in this restaurant for lunch, and there's a gentleman singing in the corner, and he's listening to this person singing. He's like, man, this person is phenomenal. This person is unbelievable. Like, this person doesn't realize how good they are, right? I think a lot of times that's true for our own mindset, by the way. When we're prepping for 2022, a lot of times we don't realize, Ethan, is that, like, how good we really are. So he's listening to this person sing over and over and over. He's like, man, this person could be Frank Sinatra one day. This person's incredible. So he walks up to the person after lunch and says, hey, Mark, I don't think you realize how good you are at singing. Like, you are incredible. How have you not been found yet? Why are you sitting in this random restaurant in New York in the corner on a single mic just singing whatever you want? Like, how is that happening? He said, here's what I'm going to do. He said, I'm like best friends with a really big time music producer, like a huge, heavy music producer that can get, I can help get you in front of the right people. He said, I don't always do this, but you were incredible. I want to do this for you. Okay, so he does. He says, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my friend back for lunch tomorrow. Same spot, I'm going to sit at the same table. We're going to sit on the 2 chairs and look at you. All I need you to do is show up tomorrow, be singing when we walk in, when we sit down at noon. Sing the exact same way, exact same songs, everything you just did, do it the exact same again tomorrow. Can you do that? He's like, oh my gosh, thank you, Mr. Trump. This is amazing. I promise I'll do my best. I will show up. I will crush it for you. So the night goes on, and Trump's excited to share this talent with his friend. It's about 11 a.m. on the next morning. The talent calls Donald and says, hey, I got into a car wreck. I'm not going to make it. So Donald said, not to the person, but when he got off the phone, he said, some people were meant to be lounge jacks forever. He said he could have called an Uber. He was able to make a phone call. It wasn't dead. Could have said, hey, stall. Could have said, hey, come pick me up. Could have called a taxi. Could have called an Uber. Could have done something, right? Could have at least tried. But one incident in his life that set him back temporarily cost him the biggest opportunity of his life ever. And by the way, it happens to agents on a daily basis all the time. So what Trump said is, he said, some people were meant to be lounge jacks. He said, lounge jacks, they're really good. They show up, they sing. He said, but they can't be reliable. When life sets them back, they have trouble showing up the next day. He said, this just their mindset is holding them back, and that's why they're a lounge act. He said, and then you've got opening acts. He said, opening acts are just as good as the main act. He said, but the opening act comes out and sings right before the main act. They're phenomenal. They're just as good. They show up. They sing. He said, but the difference is they show up on time, they sing, and they leave, and they never practice. He said, they're really good, but they're holding themselves back from being great. He said, and then the third type of person in life, he said, is a main act. He said, a main act shows up early, sings, and thinks it's never good enough. They're perfect, but they think they can be better. They always show up. They get in car wrecks, and they hobble to the finish line. He said, main acts do whatever it takes to succeed. Their ego never gets in the way. Their mindset keeps telling them, dude, I'm not doing enough, but I want to. He said, and that's the difference in a main act and a lounge act. Okay, so I want you to think about you for a second, because really the purpose of today, and for this next 45 minutes or an hour or so, is for me to talk about you as a person and you as a business. And I've got specific things that I'm going to walk through as we do this. But I want you to think about it right now. Are you operating more in your current position, more as a lounge act, more as an opening act, or more as a main act? Because I truly believe, I don't know about you, but I believe we were all called to stand out. I was at a men's conference at Courageous Church a couple weeks ago, and I love the pastor. He talked about how we're just fitting in when we were truly called to stand out. Like, that really got my attention, by the way. I'm actually going to change my keynote for the entire 10-city roadshow, and I'm going to talk about that, right? And about standing out, how we were called to stand out. Most people just like fitting in. And why is that, right? It's comfortable. We don't have to get out of our comfort zone. It's easy. It's something we can just show up and do, right? So I want you to think about that. Are you, like, you were called to stand out. We were all called to be main acts, but maybe we're acting like a lounge act sometime, okay? So here's my story really quick. If you ever get a chance to speak, stories is the best way to engage a crowd, at the beginning and the end, okay? I'm not the world's best speaker, but I'm committed to being a better speaker, and so I watch keynotes and pastors and sermons and all this stuff every single day. So even when you do seminars, whatever, you need open and end with a story every single time. That's a great way to get in front of people, by the way, is a seminar. So my story is, my father's been in the industry for 32 years. Mark knows my dad. I got started in the business I grew up in it, but I got started in business when I was 19. At 19, I was an intern for veteran agents, and I was calling out of a phone book. I was making cold calls legit out of a phone book. You're not supposed to do that. For veteran agents to book appointments. And I got to where, I don't know about you guys, I had a ton of belief in myself. I'm like, okay, if he can do this, trust me, I can too, right? Who's ever thought that in your life? You're like, dude, if this person can make money, if this person can do well, so can I, right? So I thought that. So fast forward to 20, I became a full-time insurance agent. I was 20, no sales experience, no insurance experience, was going to college at little Baptist Bible College on the north side of town, was taking 20 credit hours a semester, sometimes 21, and was playing a full-time sport, full-time student athlete, practices, games, tournaments, all that. And I remember going to a recruiting meeting, and the manager said, 10 of you stand up. Okay, he said, 10 of you stand up. He said, now take a look around. And this was literally down the road, like off of Bradford Parkway in Springfield, Missouri, by the way. Like, this is legit. He says, 10 of you stand up. He said, take a look around. He said, I want you to size up your competition. I'm like, okay, I can take him, but I don't know about her, right? I don't know. But he said, okay, now 9 of you sit down. And he left one person standing. He did not leave me standing, right? I'm a naturally very competitive individual. I was not okay. However, that's all right. He said, and what he said next really got my attention. He said, maybe one of you will make it. And I'm like, I don't know about you, but I don't know what you're thinking right now, but what I was thinking is, man, if there's going to be a one, I am going to be the one. Like, if someone is going to succeed at this level, I don't care if I'm 20, if I'm playing basketball, if I'm going to college, doesn't matter. I'm a full-time insurance agent at that time. So what I did is, I'm going to challenge you to do this at some point during today's talk, is I set a goal and a target, and I wrote down, in that moment, I said, I will earn $100,000 my first year in the insurance industry. And I did it by cold calling and cold door knocking. I remember one Friday, literally leaving Baptist Bible College, driving out to Willow Springs, Missouri. There's this senior housing living place out in Willow Springs, Missouri, with like 125 doors. I was literally spent from about noon till 10 p.m. knocking that entire complex and wrote 6 small whole life insurance policies in one day. most people will knock on 125, 150 doors a day, right? Like I didn't know any better. I didn't know that I was actually outworking everyone else. I didn't know that you had to know everything about every product to succeed, because you really don't. I didn't know you had to be the world's best salesperson to make six figures at 20 years old. I didn't know any of those things. So from cold calling, cold door knocking, over 8 months, I made $117,361.13 in my first 8 months, and fell in love with the industry, by the way. I became obsessed with what this is. I remember one time, it was so funny because I started making a little bit of money. My second month, I made like $9,000. And my parents were at a trip with Mutual of Omaha in Vegas. And while they were gone, I went to the dealership and I saw this bright red Dodge Challenger SRT8. Anybody else car people, by the way? You're like, okay, I'm a little bit of a fan of cars. Ethan smirked a little, so maybe. I know for me, like I rolled up in a Porsche Taycan because I am all electric. I didn't know it was electric when I bought it, but I'm a car guy. I like cars. Okay, and my parents were in Vegas, and I went up to the dealership and I said, okay, I want to buy this car. They're like, dude, this is like $40-something thousand. Are you sure you can afford this car? I'm like, yeah, I made $9,000 last month. I can afford the car, right? It's like the Jordan Belfort type moment there. And I walk, and they're like, if you can show us a pay stub for $9,000, we'll sell you the car. So I'm like, well, give me a computer. So I print it out, show it to them, like, okay, the car's yours. Well, I tell that story because my parents got really upset at 20 that I bought a $43,000 car without talking to them, right? And there's some other parents in the room that would feel the same way possibly, right? And I share that because I made a deal. They said, take it back. I said, I'm not taking it back. I said, here's what I will do. I said, I will pay the car off cash in the next 6 months. It's February. By August, or I'll get rid of it. So I remember walking in the Great Southern Bank on Battlefield and writing a $36,000 check to pay it off cash at that point, or whatever it was. But I share that because all along early in my career, and I still do it today, I'm setting targets. I'm putting something out in the near future for me to chase constantly. Like I've got a lot going on in my life, but when I don't have a lot going on, I'm a less happy individual. I get a lot less done. It takes me a lot longer to respond to emails and make calls and follow up because really I believe in burying myself in stuff to do. Now, do I make sure I spend time with my wife and make sure we take trips and do stuff outside of work? Totally. But when I'm working, I want so much to do that I'm drowning, I can't even keep up. Why? Because it's kind of funny, I've heard from the most successful people in the world, they said when you have a task that you want to delegate, they said, should you give it to the person that has the least to do and they've got the most free time, or should you give it to the person that has the most to do and has the most on their plate already? What do you think it is? Yeah, and it sounds backwards. They delegate it to the person that has the most on their plate, that has the least time. Why? Because they know it's going to get done. They know it's going to get done fastest, and they know it's going to get done most efficiently. Okay. Here's what I want to talk through. I want to pass out my book really quick and kind of talk a little about the book 0 to 6 Figures. And there's going to be a few things that I go through specifically with the book. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. I didn't want to write the book, by the way. I do not like writing. I like to listen more than read. I would rather legit go run a marathon, 26.2 miles, than write another book. That's just my opinion. That's just me. For me to slow down and write a book scares me to death. I don't like it. So there's several things I want to go through that's in the book that'll relate to you as a person. I really want, as you think about business for 2022, I want to cater this to you and your personal mindset. Because if you have, it doesn't matter if you're the world's best salesperson, you know the most about insurance, which really doesn't really matter that much, by the way. If you have the wrong mindset, you could be phenomenal. If you walk in and you're negative and you're complaining and you're looking for problems instead of solutions, you're not going to have a good year. So when you think about 2022, here's the stuff I want you to think about. Okay? Number one, how you talk to yourself matters. So every single day, how are you talking to yourself? You're telling yourself, dude, I'm going to accomplish a lot today. I'm going to win today. I'm going to make $1,000 today, whatever it is. I'm going to make an impact today. I'm going to help 4 people, whatever it is. Or are you saying, dude, it's Thursday, it's Friday. I got the weekend coming up. I'm ready to take some time off. I've had a great week. I'm going to just chill. I'm going to slow down. Or are you telling yourself you're dumb, Are you telling yourself you're not great at sales? Are you telling yourself you're not good on the phone? Are you telling yourself you don't know what to say typically? Are you telling yourself you hate hearing objections so that when you hear them, you're going to totally despise hearing them? Or are you talking to yourself as in, hey, like, I don't know everything. Like, my ego's not going to get in the way, but I can promise you, I'm going to outwork everybody in the room. I'm going to put forth the right effort. I'm going to do the right things. I really believe how we talk to ourselves is truly, truly important. Self-confidence is one of the most important things on the planet. You think about all the things going on in the world, people struggling with depression and everything else, like personal confidence is huge. Like, it is the difference maker between somebody doing something big in their life and somebody not, right? I was very fortunate. Not everybody was. I had a phenomenal childhood. My parents were incredible. It was funny. Landon was talking about his son earlier and how he was like, man, Dad, I've been through a lot in my life. And Landon's like, shut up. You got a lake house and a boat and a 4,000 square foot house and all the, playing sports every day. Like, what are you talking about? You've been through a lot, right? I was that kid, by the way, that had not been through a lot. Like, I had a very, very amazing childhood, but not everybody has. And a lot of times we're carrying that into the rest of our life, and it's affecting what we do and how we do it. So how you talk to yourself matters. Number 2, accept responsibility. I don't blame anyone for anything at any time. Guess who I blame? I blame me. I get into a car wreck because somebody ran a stop sign and I hit them. My fault. I could have picked it up. I could have saw them. I have a bad day. I make 100 calls, 4 people answer, and I set no appointments. Is it that nobody picked up the phone, or is it that you squandered the opportunities that you did have? Maybe you've only made 40 grand this year. You're like, dude, maybe you've only made 100, but you could have made 200, whatever it is. Like, I accept full responsibility for everything in my life. Like for example, our insurance conference, building a conference and a brand is one of the toughest things I've ever done. Like, you sell 1,200 tickets and 400 people show up. And you're like, dude, it's like the mentally toughest thing I've ever had to deal with. But it's my fault that they didn't show up. Could have sent them a gift, could have called them all, could have texted them all. I could have done more. The point of accept responsibility, we've even got wristbands, but I broke mine recently. I need to get another one that say accept responsibility, because every day I am responsible for what I do, how I do it, and how well my day goes. I'm responsible. I leave an appointment and I should have made a sale and I don't. Like, for example, after I made $117,000 in my first 8 months, I remember going back 4 months later to run an appointment because I took some time off because I hit my target and I was playing, going to play basketball in school and all that. I took a little time off. I went back in January and I went to run a warm market appointment down in Omaha, Arkansas. And I was supposed to sell 2 life insurance policies to some of my parents' friends. I left empty-handed. Why? Because I was rusty. It wasn't because it wasn't the right time for them. Everybody needs life insurance. They didn't have it. But me being rusty may have cost their family not having the insurance they needed. Is it that they just didn't want to buy today, or is it that you weren't on your best effort? Like, I was telling Dylan, I'm like, dude, this is a little unique for me. I'm used to speaking to like big rooms. I haven't done this in a long time. I'm like, Dylan, I'm excited for this because I used to do a lot of this and I love it. I enjoy it. Like, Landon which was phenomenal, by the way, is a natural like educator, right? Teacher, and you can feel it. Okay, so you got to figure out what you are. But I can tell you that accepting responsibility is one of the best keys as you walk into 2022, right? Quit blaming your spouse for all your problems, right? Your kids. If you're broke, change it, right? If you got $100 in your bank account, whose fault is that? It's mine. Number 3, some of you are like, dude, never invite this guy back, okay? Number 3, show up. I remember, because the step 1 is success, by the way, is showing up. The number 1 step to success is showing up. I remember on a Saturday morning, had an appointment somewhere, I think it was like, I don't know, it was like an hour north of Joplin. It was like a couple hours from here, right? It was a pretty good ways. And I remember going to it was me and another agent that set the appointment. It was for like 9 a.m. on a Saturday. We're supposed to leave at like the office at like 6:30 or 7 o'clock. And we go to the office and we're about to leave and I'm like, dude, that's a long way. It's one appointment. It's a Saturday. I start, making excuses. I'm like, let's call first. I don't believe in doing that. However, I did. And she didn't answer. Think about what you would have done in this moment, by the way, right? Like, this happens and I call first and she doesn't answer. And I'm like, she's probably not there. Probably not home. Like, dude, it's 6:45 a.m. Where's she at, right? She's at McDonald's drinking coffee. Who cares? Just go to the flipping appointments. But I'm like, no, she's not gonna be there. The agent's like, dude, why don't we just go? We have nothing to do. Who cares? Let's just find out. So we go. She forgot, but she's there. She apologizes. We get in. We were there for like 3 hours. It's one of the best moments of my life. We write a $505 a month whole life insurance policy. We almost didn't go. How many times are you like, I'm just going to call, I'm not going to go, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. But what's funny is about the insurance industry is we never know if it's going to be the worst moment of our life or if it's going to be the best one we've ever had. The next phone call, right? If we show up and actually make one extra call, like Patrick Bet-David talked about this at our conference. He talked about how he would have all these guys in a room and he would say, okay, let's make 40 calls. And they would all make 40 calls. And he'd be like, okay, let's do another 40. And a couple people would leave. They'd call another 40. And then he's like, okay, who wants to do another 40? And then a few would leave. Let's do another 40. And then a few would leave. And it'd be down to like him and one other person. He'd be like, the other person would be like, this is my last 40. He'd be like, okay, that's fine, no worries. They call 40. He's like, let's call another 40. The other person's like, I'm leaving. He's like, I'm not. Because I want to make sure I'm last. And I want to make sure I call 40 more than everybody else. Or are you just leaving with everybody else because it's cool, it's fun, it looks good, right? You don't want to make anybody look bad. Or are you like, dude, I'm not worried about anybody else. I'm worried about me dominating 2022. That's the kind of stuff I think about. Number 4, I really believe in setting targets and goals. Like I do not believe in doing anything. I don't even believe in walking out of the house without a target of I'm doing this week, this month, this year. Like you have to have a target or a goal with everything you do. That first year, I would not have made 6 figures if my dad wouldn't have told me, you should make 6 figures your first year. Everyone should. I'm like, he was thinking bigger for me, by the way. I'm like, maybe he's right. I don't know. Like, I didn't know any better. I didn't know that was great. Now I've realized like I'm the only person ever with a Mutual of Omaha local office that's made 6 figures in their first 8 months, ever. In the history of that office. It was because I didn't know any better. Like, are you letting other people cap the potential future for you, or are you capping the potential future for you? So for me, everything we do, there's a target. Like for 8% Nation, we set a target of 2,500 insurance agents in attendance in Dallas, July of 2022. I put out something on Instagram recently, like, hey, who wants to maybe speak at one of our conferences? Somebody reached out. I said, well, okay, why should we have you speak? What kind of value can you bring? And how many people could you bring? And the gentleman's like, I could bring a couple hundred people with me. Like, okay, you got my attention, right? What did he do? He brought value first. Okay, he brought value first. So everything you do have a target or a goal. 4, I really believe in a daily routine. If you study successful people, they all have a daily routine. Like they don't just get out of bed, brush their teeth, shower, change clothes, walk into the office, and hope they have success for the day. Like they just don't do that. Like they don't sleep in. Like they're up. So here's my daily routine. I call it my daily Power 5. Every day I'm up before 6 a.m. Okay, it ain't rocket science. It sounds early, but I'm telling you, once you get used to it, it's actually not early. Like I was up at 3 this morning and I went back to sleep for a little bit, but I was excited for this, so I couldn't sleep, right? So wake up before 6. Second is I get a good workout in every single day. 6 days a week, I work out with a trainer. Why? Because energy is everything, right? What are you really selling in insurance? You're selling you. Like you're not really selling insurance. Who cares if it's the lowest flipping home or auto quote or life insurance quote or Medicare quote? Nobody cares. Only people that shop insurance are agents. Consumers don't actually shop insurance. Anybody that thinks that, I can promise you, you need to get that out of your head because it's holding you back from closing deals. Guaranteed. Consumers don't shop. Agents do. And they tell themselves that consumers are shopping, which what does that do? The only reason we do it is because I didn't get the deal. Now it's because they're shopping. They're looking. You just close it anyway, right? So for me, I get a good workout in because I'm selling conviction, I'm selling passion, I'm selling me every single day. Third is I make sure that I am listening to something positive to start my day, right? So this morning I was listening to some T.D. Jakes and Les Brown on the way to work this morning. Something positive to start my day. Like, are you waking up And turning on the news and looking at the media just fill your head with the absolute worst stuff on the planet? Are you scrolling through Facebook and seeing everyone complain about everything in the world and all these news articles of all the people dying everywhere and everything else? Or are you focused on having a positive mindset for the day? I'm telling you, you may think that those things are not affecting you. I promise you they are. I promise you they are. Like I have a rule in my own life. My family knows it. My friends know it. I don't talk about COVID. Period. Why? Because I can't control it. I can't. You know what I can control? What I do every single day. I don't talk about any of that stuff, right? That whether you believe, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like we can't control it, but I can control the success that I have in my life. That's all I can control. So that's why I'm big on like, okay, every single day, I'm putting positive stuff. I was listening to worship music while I was showering this morning. Like I'm focused on being a positive, better version of me. Like I'm not all that. Like he talked about, 6 companies over 10 million bucks, whatever. I have a lot of incredible people around me. That's the only thing that I haven't been dumb at. Like yesterday, we're in a team meeting. I didn't even know octopus had 8 legs. So they're like, dude, octo means octagon, which means 8. You don't have to be that smart, right? I had no idea. True? BBC. Yeah, BBC, right? And I was born in Arkansas. That's, whatever, okay? You don't have to be that smart. Guess what you got to be? You got to show up. You got to accept responsibility. You got to be positive. What you put in your brain, the first 30 minutes of the day and the last 30 minutes of the day are the most important part of your day. So think about it. Stop for a second. What are you putting in your brain for the first 30 minutes and the last 30 minutes? Is it helping you be a better person, or is it really polluting your own brain? And you're brainwashing and polluting and taking freaking massive bags of trash and dumping them on top of yourself to start your day? Or are you thinking about, I need to be really positive and really successful today, okay? I get a little excited and intense, so if I do, apologize, okay? But I think maybe it'll hit home a little harder if I am that way. Number, whatever I'm on, 6. Oh, actually, I didn't finish daily routine, did I?
No, you're on
Number 4. Number 4, I write down my goals every morning. Okay, so I'm writing down that like I'm putting God and my marriage above our companies. I'm also writing down that our companies are going to be worth $1 billion amongst dozens of companies one day. I'm writing down that I'm speaking every week around the world, traveling on a private jet and impacting others and helping other people around the world. Some people think the private jet thing's a little much, okay, but it's like, dude, if you could travel commercial or on your own plane, which would you choose? Nobody on the planet would say, no, dude, I'd rather get in line like I'm a herd of cattle with 200 people in front of me and people are fighting over masks and that person's breathing on that person and that person's like getting frustrated and jamming their bag in, all this stuff. Or where rather just walks in and say, hey, I'm in my seat, please take off. It wouldn't suck, would it? Nobody would say the alternative. Even though most people, they see it and they're like, that dude is a jerk, right? That's not the way I look at it. I'm like, dude, they must have worked their butt off and earned their way to that part of their life. And I don't view it as like selfish or jealous or, oh, woe is me and I hate them. I'm like, man, what can I learn from that person? Like that's also goes back to like how we think about every situation. And then 5 is I'm finishing every morning with every shower I do a couple minutes of ice cold water every single day. I saw the facial expression. There's always one in the room. There's always multiple in the room. They're like, okay, that don't make any sense. I do that because I believe in doing. I believe to have success, you have to do things you don't want to do. So I don't like the cold shower. It's terrible, but it wakes my brain up. And it makes me do something I don't want to do to start my day. I don't let my brain control me. I control my brain. Like I control my body. I control what I do. I control when I do it, how I do it. I know it's a little weird, but it's just a psychological thing that I do for me to start my day every single day, right? And it's powerful. And it truly wakes me up, by the way. So that's the 5th one, okay? Now I'm going off of daily routine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, number 6. Limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs. I went to a $50,000 mastermind with Grant Cardone in Vegas about a year and a half ago. And I paid to go to that because I want to scale a conference. They've scaled a conference, and I'm like, what can I learn from this, right? So I get in the room. There's like 15, 20 people that have paid to be there. And There's two things that he really hit on in the first hour of that 50K mastermind. The two things are, the first one was limiting beliefs. What limiting beliefs is, I believe there's specific things in your brain that are holding you back from taking that next level in your life. I believe there's specific things that we are holding ourselves back on, but we don't know that we don't always realize they're there, or we know they're there, but we just let them live there. Here's what I mean. For example, a lot of people are scared to take risk because they don't know what's going to happen, right? To achieve massive levels of success, and to help a lot of people, right? It can be more about impact than money. We have to take risk. We have to get outside of our comfort zone, right? Also, most people are afraid to spend money because you're scared you're not going to get it back. It's kind of interesting. This is not popular, but I put on my Instagram story recently, I said, if you're ever scared to spend $10,000, you'll never have $1 million. Let that sink in for a second, by the way. Like if you're scared to spend money because you're afraid you're not going to get it back, then you need to start believing that you have the ability to get it back, because we're in the #1 career on planet Earth, by the way. I don't know if you know this, 92% of insurance agents fail in their first 3 years. That's why we call it 8% Nation. Also, there's more millionaires in financial services and the insurance industry than any other industry in the world. There's more millionaires in this, over real estate, by the way, than any financial services and insurance than any other industry in the world. Who knew that? Or who's like, okay, that was new to me. Okay, cool, good. That's what's powerful about that. Other limiting beliefs. There's things that happened in your childhood, from your teachers, from your parents, whatever, that you've had trouble letting go of, and they're affecting you later in life, right? Like I'm always thinking about, okay, what's going on in me? What's really holding me back? Like if someone gives me an opportunity to do something and I know I should do it, but I'm hesitating, why am I hesitating? Like I believe that you will sell, this is not popular either, but I truly believe this. I believe you will sell how you buy, right? I'd be shocked if it takes a ton of convincing for Mark to go buy a truck, right? I'd be shocked. Exactly, right? And he's probably one of the best salespeople in the room. Well, I also believe that if you're hearing, I want to think about it a lot. It's because as a salesperson, you think about it a lot. As a buyer. So when you're selling, you allow people to do that. People can feel that stuff, by the way, right? Like that's why I bought the Taycan without actually knowing it was all electric. Now, is that really smart? Probably not. But I was in the middle of a call and I was doing the test drive and I'm like, I'll take it. And then I walk in and my team's like, you do know that was all electric, right? Because they brought it to the office. I'm like, nah, I had no idea. But now it's a favorite car I've ever had. I actually love electric. I pass every gas station in town and I'm like, that's amazing, right? Like I don't like, who likes to stop and get gas? Nobody, right? Nobody. And Tesla's made it really popular to not do that. So think about, is there certain limiting beliefs in your life that are holding you back from being a better version of you? Things in your brain that are really stopping you from continuing to progress in some way. Think about that. Last on personal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, is this other thing that Cardone talked about at that 50K mastermind was ideal life. Have you thought about what you want your life to look like at the end? Like we plan concerts, we plan sporting events, we plan vacations, but we never stop to say, here's what I want my life to look like when I'm 60, 70, 80, 90 years old. Here's where I want to live. Here's how many companies I want. Here's how much money I want. Here's what cars I want. Here's the charities I want. Here's the foundations I want to start. Like we're in the middle of formulating and building an 8% foundation that I'm not in charge of. I just promote, and we've got people that are on the board that are running it that we can launch and release at our conference, because I really want to get to the end of my life and feel like I've impacted millions and millions of people around the world in a positive way. Because I can promise you, you help, you're Zig Ziglar, right? If you help enough people get what they want, you get what you want. Well, most people aren't thinking about, okay, what do I want my life to look like at the very end? Because some of you are sitting here, and I can put myself in the same seat, and you're not happy with where your life is at the moment, right? I'm not either, by the way. I seem to be never satisfied. I'm very blessed, very happy, but I'm never satisfied with what I've accomplished. That's just my personality. That's a personality problem of mine, okay? And some of you may be that way. But think about it, do you want to take, because what most people don't realize is what's amazing about insurance, and there's a ton of money in it, is from a business standpoint, what's the purpose of being in the insurance industry? The purpose is you have a business that spits out cash from that business, and then you take the cash and you invest it in other companies, real estate, whatever. Like, that's the point of actually selling insurance. It's not, most people don't, you can get rich selling insurance, but it's better if you get rich selling insurance and you go create other passive income streams while you're selling and making a bunch of money, right? But you may be like, dude, I don't make enough. That's okay. I've got a business, but I don't make enough to ever actually have leftover money, right? Like, my wife and I have all these different companies. All that money flows into a holding company, and we take the holding company and we invest in stuff. So for example, we bought the storage facility right behind us with 40 units, and my director of operations and assistant runs that for us. She's in the middle of trying to hopefully close any day now on the 160 Grand Prix, the 9 acres down off of Campbell, on 3 miles south on the way to Nixa. I don't know why she wants a go-kart track, but she does. So I'm like, you do you do whatever you want. Well, that couldn't have happened if we didn't have a business that made money to think about other opportunities. I wasn't taught a lot of this stuff, by the way. I didn't think like this. But I can tell you along the way, I've got in the right rooms to learn from the right people, because I realize I don't know it all. I still don't. I still know very little in the grand scheme of things compared to most people. But I'm knowing just enough to be dangerous to know that I need to know more, right? So think about the ideal life piece, okay? Before I get to some business planning ideas, I want to put you through a personal goal exercise, okay? You'll need a pad, you'll need a pen. And I want to put you through a personal goal exercise to make you think about your goals. It's 8 questions specifically catered to you as a person. Okay, so when I do a lot of like coaching or retreats, or we've got several people coming to spend the day at our office tomorrow from wherever, for an HQ day is what we call it. I'm sitting down and spending time with people, and I'm thinking about their business and their future and what they want. Okay, so I'm going to ask you 8 things, and I want you to also, we're going to take our time, because I also want you to put an answer down for every one of them. It could be first instinct and you don't like the answer, but just put it down anyway. You can change it later, right? Number 1, what do you want more than, and this is a personal goal exercise, so you can write whatever you want. What do you want more than anything else? What do you want more than anything else? Some of this is not going to be easy, by the way. Some of you are like, dude, I've never thought like this. Nobody's ever asked me this stuff. This is really difficult. I can't imagine actually writing an answer. You can spend time this weekend, right? But what do you want more than anything else? You had to think about it. Like, what do I really, really, really want out of this whole thing, you know? I could write a lot of stuff, naturally, right? And I write down my goals every day, so this is, when you start getting that habit, it's amazing too, when you write your goals down every day, the amount of things that you can accomplish and how much farther you can go just by reminding yourself every morning, here's what I'm focused on, here's what I'm focused on, here's what I'm focused on. Like, I wrote down that I was gonna make 100 grand at 20, and I wrote it down every day. And what I didn't tell you is I hung up that little paper that I wrote up and signed. I hung it up in my cubicle, and I looked at it every day, and I rewrote it down every day. Every single day. Like, you do that enough, you will trick yourself into thinking that you should be making 6 figures eventually. I'm telling you. It's a huge confidence booster. It's not an ego thing either. It's just, hey, I want to focus on what I want to focus on. Number 2. This may be hard too, but when will you know that you've got number 1? At what point will you know? And some of you are like, well, dude, that's really difficult. At what point will you know that you've achieved number 1 of what you want more than anything else? And some of these I ask generically because I don't want to really steer you one way or another. I want you to think of your own thoughts. I don't want to like position it, right? Or change it or push you in one direction or another. Number 3, what are you the absolute best at? It's funny, it takes us a second to say what we're really good at, but if I ask you to write your weaknesses, you could list a laundry list. But it helps in life to know what I'm really good at, because, for example, most people don't know this, but in a business, I believe as someone running a business, and you're selling insurance, you're running a business. You should be focused on doing 3 things every single day, and you do nothing else other than those 3 things. You're like, which means maybe you got to put yourself in a position where you hire an admin at some point or an assistant or something, right? But what I do is I am, number 1, I'm promoting every single day everything that we're doing. Number 2, I'm connecting with top people in the industry, right? And then number 3, I'm focused on collecting revenue. So I'm focused on our sales teams and collecting revenue and pushing revenue. But the revenue a lot of times comes from promoting and connecting. So for me, when I think about Mark, he talked about team building, culture, and I can feel it, by the way. Like you can feel the culture is better here than it is most places, which is really cool. That's a testament to him, which is really awesome. If you think about that, what should he really be doing all day, every day, right? And I'm not just putting words in his mouth. I don't know what it is, but it's probably promoting this place, right? Building up the team and spending time making people better that are inside of the organization, right? I don't know what it is, right? Connecting with leaders in the community, I don't know. But for him, I know that this thing is getting cool enough and big enough that he's not selling insurance every day anymore, right? And if he did, it would actually slow down the growth, so he shouldn't. Okay, number 3 was, what are you absolute best at? Number 4, what are you weak at? Okay, what are you not good at? There's certain things, like if you're like, I'm not good at making calls. Well, you got to make calls, right? Like I'm not saying you could delegate that, I guess, but I did a little bit of delegating that early on, but I also did a lot of it too. Like I didn't just delegate it just because I didn't want to do it, right? But for example, I'm not planning all of our events. I'm not doing all the ads. I'm not always doing all the sales. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things in business that I'm, like for example, do you think you would write more business if you didn't have to do any of the admin, any of the turning in applications, any of the follow-up, any of the checking on pending, any of the client service work, you know what I mean? You get the idea? Like imagine how much more you can produce if you get rid of a bunch of the stuff that a salesperson technically shouldn't be doing. Okay, what are you weak at? Number 5, what do you do that is the biggest waste of your time? And it doesn't have to be business related, by the way, okay? What do you do that is the biggest waste of your time? You got it quick.
Yeah.
Somebody's
The scrolling finger is strong.
There you go. Okay. Dude, TikTok is a time suck for me. Okay, it's killing me. My wife got rid of it. I need to get rid of it, but I also want to post on TikTok. But when I get on it, I'm like, dude, 45 minutes later, I'm still watching flipping TikToks. What am I in this Twilight Zone? Like, what's going on over here? You know, it's crazy. You get going, and yeah, it is. Okay, number 6. I'm actually going to have 2 for this one. What are you not doing that you should be doing? Okay, not doing but should be. Not doing but should be. I'm learning. I played basketball at Seminole Baptist Church on Sunday night. I'm 31. I haven't played in like 6 months, and I'm hurting the last few days. I mean, hip flexors, quad. It's all moved to my lower back. Like, babe, I think I just retired. I feel like I'm 94, okay? Like, geez. I definitely can't keep up with Ethan anymore. The opposite of number 6 is, and I want you to keep it on number 6 and answer 2 different things, 2 different items. First was, what are you not doing? Second is, what are you doing that you should not be? But make it different than the time waster answer. Like the first one was, what are you not doing that you should be? Let's make another answer for the same question of, what are you doing that you should not be doing? Okay, make sense? A lot of times we know the answers to a lot of the problems that we're facing. Instead of just giving you the answers, I like you finding it by me asking questions instead of me just telling. And then when someone finds it themselves, they're more likely to adapt or change or use the answer because they found it instead of giving somebody else credit for finding it, right? Okay, number 7. What is your target for 2022? What's your goal? Because you definitely can't build a business plan without one, And really, why is that the goal too, by the way? Like, why is that the actual target? Just because it sounds cool? If you haven't made it 6 figures yet and you're like, hey, dude, it's 100 grand. Is it because 100 grand is like what everyone wants to make when they get insurance? So that's like the number everybody says? Or is it because, or you're like, dude, I'm making 400 grand. It needs to be $1 million. Okay, great. But what is it for you? But really, why is it? Is it because that's what you want it to be? Or is it because that's what you think Mark wants it to be? Or that's because you think that's what everybody else thinks it to be, or that's what you just thought it should be, right? Number 8, what are 3 things, this is going to be tough, what are 3 things that could hold you back from hitting that target that you just set? What are 3 things that could hold you back from hitting that target? If you're selling insurance, not getting in front of people is always an easy, natural answer, right? Like the reason I had some decent success in my first year, really, it's not really it's the activity, but all I did was I set 15 plus appointments every week. I sat with 10 plus, and I sold 5 plus every week. I just followed that and I did it. And it was weird. I made a couple grand a week every week. So you got to figure out what that is for you, right? And it varies by product, okay? I was selling like small life insurance stuff. I wasn't selling, I wasn't building a renewal stream, okay? So you got to take that into account. I know some of you are focused on that. So number 8, what are 3 things that could hold you back from hitting your target? Okay, good. I'm going to give you a few more things to think about with this whole business plan idea really quick. Okay, so separate from the goal exercise, I'm going to give you a few things to think about when you're building your business plan and you're thinking about 2022 and you're thinking about next year. Okay, number 1, think bigger. Like, have you really ever challenged yourself to think bigger? Or is the goal the same as it was last year? Like, are you pushing yourself to think on another level? Number 2, I really believe in scaling now. Most people always say, you know what, when I work out, I'm going to start my diet or my workout program on Monday, right? Or I'm going to start and try to make $250,000 next year, right? Or whatever. Like, I believe in doing things now because I'm telling you, the activity that you put forth in December, also guess what? Typically, and NAFA could probably maybe prove me wrong, back with Mutual Omaha, this was years ago, we're not with Mutual anymore, the biggest insurance sales month of the year was December. But most people take it easy in December. I didn't, and I don't think you have to. And the activity that you do now will benefit you next year, whether you think it will or not. Number 3, details delay. Okay, details delay. What I mean by that is most people are always consumed with, okay, Cody, here's what I want to do, but here's all the things that I have to do or know or figure out. I want to plan this seminar, but I gotta have a date, and I gotta have a name, and I gotta have a postcard, and I gotta have something to say, and I gotta do this, bless you, and I gotta do this, and this, and this, and this. Like, just plan it anyway. Like, when we do events, we plan events in like 60 seconds now. I'm like, okay, here's the date, here's the title, build a graphic, promote it. They're like, well, what about pricing? What did we do last time? Just because a lot of times the detail delays us from getting a lot done. Some personalities, by the way, they want to know everything before they do anything, right? When in reality, why don't we just get a lot done, not care about the detail? Yes, we want it to be good. Yes, we want it to do well. But how about we just accomplish a lot first and get it moving instead of taking weeks to think about getting it moving? Number 4, you really need to promote more than you think. For example, in the grand scheme of things, we're really not that well known in the insurance industry yet. However, most of you probably had no clue who we are or who we were at all. Which means as much as I think we promote, we can always promote more. Like the conference, there's still probably 1 million insurance agents that have never heard of 8% Nation. And I've spent $4 million on it probably. And there's still 1 million insurance agents that have no clue. What I mean by that is, as much as you think you're promoting, it's never enough. You could have one thing that you're promoting like crazy for an entire month, and then you could show up to a family reunion or Thanksgiving, and your mom or your sister or your kid not even know that it even exists, or that you've been promoting that thing for a month. Like, that's just a part of promotion. Number 5, know your numbers. Okay, like when you're talking about business and planning, you really need to know your numbers in great detail. In as much detail as you possibly can. Okay? So I want you to think about this. When you think about 2022, okay, and we look back, and Mark does this again in 1 year. December 2nd, 2022. We're 1 year from now. What's happened in your life? What's happened in your business? What did you accomplish? Did you make a huge impact? Did you accomplish a lot? Did you push the needle? Did you push the envelope? Are you proud of the last 12 months of work? Or did we just float through life? Did we just fit in and we just not stand out? Or did we take the next 12 months to change the rest of our life because of the work that we did the next 365 days? So when you think about the next 12 months, that's what I want you to think about. When you think about the next year, that's what I want you to think about. Also, for everything, I think it's TD Jakes, Les Brown, whoever. A lot of people say this. For everything to change, we have to change. I want you to look back in 12 months and not even recognize the person that you are, in a good way, by the way. I want you may not be better looking, but you can at least be smarter. You can at least have invested in your business more. You can at least know more. You can at least have a bigger network. You can at least be around the right people. You can at least be a harder worker. You can at least be better on the phone. You can at least be better at texting. You can at least be better at closing. You can at least be better at sales. You can at least be better at team building. You can at least be better at get up in front of a room, whatever, right? Like, do you feel like over the last 12 months, you have accomplished a lot? Do you believe that you've totally shed your skin and become a whole new person in the last 12 months, or have you not? So that's what I want you to think about. Okay, the next 12 months, I'm thinking about 2022. The next 12 months can be the best 12 months of your life if you let it. And I hope it is. Okay, thank you. If you love this video, you know I got another one that you're going to love. I got a video just to your right here. Click on that. It's going to be amazing. You're going to love it. And I'll see you in there. Which objection do you think agents struggle with the most early in a call? I'm curious what you guys are thinking, by the way, too. You feel free to comment.